kids cardiac. Catch me in the Muni where the party at. Dog pound, turn up with the elf up on my starter cap. Brought him back, boy, we from the land and we proud of that. Louder man, front to the back, here we go, I got them shouting that. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Stand up. Here we go, brownies. Let's go. Game on the line, Joe Thomas, I promise. Jim Brown running through opponents, how I got this. I return like Josh Cripps. Hand for the mini, got the dog pound jumping. Here we go, brownies. Here we go. Here we go, brownies. Here we go, brownies. Stand up. Here we go, brownies. Let's go.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Here we go, Brownies Nations. We are here with Larry Lorello at Huntington Field to talk about Here We Go Brownies wine and all the other amazing wines at Lorello Vineyards.
Yeah, I just want to tell all of you guys, it's harvest season right now. We just started with some of the whites, and reds will be coming in next. Stop out the winery, all the wineries out in Northeast Ohio for to check out all the harvest and what we're doing out there. It's a really good time right now.
Here we go, Brownies. Here we go.
Here we go.
Woof, 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 woof.
I know that choosing a realtor is a big decision, especially in a market like Cleveland. Hi, I'm Crystal John Toney with eXp Realty, and I grew up right here. I know these neighborhoods, the values, and where the real opportunities are. Whether you're buying your first home, upgrading, or investing, I'm here to guide you every step of the way and make sure that you don't leave money on the table. Let's make your next move a smart one.
All right, welcome in everybody to another episode of the Here We Go Brownies podcast. I'm Allie Ellery coming into live from Pensacola, Florida, and joined with me live at the NFL draft. We've got Dustin. Guys, we are, it is NFL draft. We're excited. So we've got a lot of fun segments coming your way. At this point, we've already kind of exhausted everything, right? We've already kind of all of that. We're gonna have fun tonight. That's what the show's about because we can only talk about this for you.
Yeah, so backdrop, Acrisure Stadium here in Pittsburgh. Interesting city, the roads, a lot of roads and bridges in this city. It's a crazy city. Here's the craziest thing, Allie. Right behind us is where they block off the entire draft. I was like, what would have been so cool about 15 minutes ago? The entire mounted police force, the horses for the Pittsburgh Police Department went behind. I was like, that would have been perfect to have this entire Clydesdale type of horses behind us. But it's warm here. It's about 75 degrees from the draft these 2 days. If you can make it out to the draft and you're in Northeast Ohio, come out. It's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to be covering a lot of stuff. You probably saw the interviews from today. Obviously, Caleb Downs, Proctor, the wide receivers, and Carnell Tate said, if you're picked by the Browns, he told me, I'm there to win it all. So I was like, makes you want to run through a wall, as Allie and I like to say when you hear players, especially Ohio State guys. And we talked about this. 5 Ohio State players could go in the first round of this draft. So I think it's gonna be a crazy draft. Allie, from what I'm hearing, teams are ready to move up and down. There's a lot going on. So
I think, and Dustin, I don't mean to be rude here, but I am going to mute you when you're not talking. The cars in the background are a little bit loud, so just for the sake of our listeners, I think that there is going to be a lot of chaos in this draft. And I think that because there's going to be a run, whether that's a run on receivers, a run on tackles, a run on defensive players, or all of the above. One thing we're not going to see in this draft, and you can put money on this, you're not going to see a run on quarterbacks early. That's just not going to happen. This is pretty much a 1 quarterback draft class. But I do think one of my predictions is that the Arizona Cardinals are going to trade back up into the first round to get Ty Simpson. I think it's possible you could see him going in the first round. We know that the Arizona Cardinals are all in on him. Be crazy to do that at 3. They're not going to do it. I think out of all of the teams, Dustin, in the top 10, Arizona is most likely going to be the first one to trade. I think obviously the Raiders are staying put. They're drafting Fernando Mendoza. Hearing a ton of rumors that the Jets are all in on David Bailey. A lot of smoke with Arvell Reese in the past couple of days, kind of a smoke screen. They're going to draft David Bailey, and that leaves 3. I think you're going to see some teams get hungry, whether that's the Kansas City Chiefs, the Dallas Cowboys, or even, maybe the Giants even pair their 2 firsts and go up, which would be crazy. Don't do that in New York. But you could see some of these teams get a little bit crazy and go get one of these Ohio State defensive players. I think there's going to be several trades in the first round. We're going to bring David on here in just a little bit to talk about the value of trading the second first-round pick at 24. Last week, we talked about trading 6 and what that value can look like. We'll talk about that here in a few moments. But Dustin, I'm with you. I think that there is going to
Yeah, so here's the thing that I found very interesting. There was some Jets reporters here, and there's a little bit about there's some smoke from the Jets about Ty, the quarterback from Alabama as well, which I think that's kind of an interesting thing. And also, I think there's an opportunity where you said there's teams that are going to jump up. I will say this: I got to be up close and personal to him. I thought he was a taller guy. I don't know what he's listed at, but is he only 6 foot?
You talking about Ty Simpson?
Yeah.
He is, I'll tell you. He is 6'1". Okay, you're muted. You muted yourself.
I say I look taller than him, but it's like I manifested this, Allie, just for you, the beautiful horses of the mounted police. So there they are. Just like on cue. There's the mounted police force.
We've got a Chiefs fan here in the comments. Curious, who are you interested in? This gets really interesting for Chiefs fans. I think that they're kind of sneaky tackle. You can see it right there. Obviously, they need help at receiver. So curious to see, what fans want the Chiefs to do. I think I like Mansour Delane to them. That makes a lot of sense. But like I said, I think that they're possibly a sneaky team to draft a tackle because, as we know, this is a fairly rich tackle draft. Dustin, talk to us. What's going on? You mentioned you talked to a couple of players, had some interviews. What's it like in Pittsburgh?
Yeah, I got to tell you, Roger Goodell was in good spirits. It was a Special Olympics camp that they were doing there, celebrating Special Olympics. So the 16 of the drafts of the players were out there. 16 prospects were out there with the kids. So I was able to grab some interviews with Caleb Downs, Proctor, like I said, some of those guys, but just some great interviews. Look for those on our Instagram and Facebook. I got some nice quick sound bites from them. There was a super fan thing that Larry and the bus we went to this afternoon. They were doing some B-roll. So you'll see all that coverage actually on draft. They're going to roll that out at the draft. So they were doing some stuff. So that was a lot of fun. And interesting enough, of where I'm at, there's a religious group playing music tonight. So if you hear the music, I apologize. But no, it's been great. It's already busy, but I've been to these drafts. It's wild. There's going to be too many people in this small city. It's a good sized city, but it's small for the amount of 700,000 people that they're expecting to do that. And I mentioned these golf carts, as you can see, there's hundreds of them here taking people around because Uber is kind of non-existent in Pittsburgh. So hey, if you're coming to the draft, by the way, it's $25 and they'll take you anywhere. Get on a golf cart and go. So
yeah, well, there you go. There you have that. Let's go ahead and bring David on. We've got some things to talk about. Of course, we are going to give you our mock drafts. We're going to have a kind of a scoring system to see who is the most accurate, and then we'll talk about it on the next show, of course. And then, of course, we're going to just have some draft fun. But before we get into that, I do want to talk about the value in trading back. Last week with David, we talked about the value in trading back out of 6, what that can look like and what that has looked like in years past. Tonight, we're going to highlight what that could potentially look like at 24. As we were going over some of the research, we found some interesting value at 24. So let's go ahead and bring him on. Before we do so, this is brought to you by our good friends over at Stadium Mustard. Guys, if you don't have Stadium Mustard in your kitchen this season, you are doing it wrong. The iconic brand, the iconic taste, from ballparks to backyards and everywhere in between. Stadium Mustard is a smooth brown mustard rich in both taste and tradition. By the way, it is loved by millions, so be sure to head on over to Stadium Mustard. Now, let's bring him on, Dr. David Ellery, the husband of the program, the doctor of the program, and our draft guy.
Hello, Allie, Dustin. Hi. Not a lot. It's beautiful. We're in the 80s here in Pensacola, Florida, and life's good. And the draft is tomorrow. Woo!
And David is only working from his tablet tonight. We're good? Yes.
We're rocking and rolling. We are rocking and rolling.
Okay?
Oh, by the way, I was going to tell you real quick, Allie, tomorrow, anybody that's here coming to the draft, just Google Ditto, come down here, free Stadium Mustard brats 1 to 5 p.m. Prior to going to the draft. Larry will be here with the bus. Come down, get brats, get your Stadium Mustard, 1 to 5, free. That's right, you heard it, free. Come on down.
I I do like free. All right, David, let's get into it. First, before we get into the value, I want to talk about one particular prospect in medical evaluation, and that's CC Maui Noah. We know that he's got this back situation. Now, with that, so close to the draft, one, I think it's possible that we could see Francis Maui Noah fall a little bit farther than what we expected him to go. You know, if we were doing mocks a couple of weeks ago, we said he's the first tackle off the board and he's going 3 overall, probably to Arizona. Kind of looking like that might not happen. He's got this like back issue. So while this is the medical moment, I'd like to just kind of briefly touch on that. If you know anything, especially because he has been, linked to the Browns in some conversations.
Yeah. So it came out, as we know, relatively recently that he was diagnosed with a herniated disc in his back. So slip disc, herniated disc, pinched nerve, however you want to consider it. That's kind of the nomenclature for those. What is it? Essentially, there's discs between the vertebrae bones in your back, and those discs are kind of spongy, and they can get kind of weak and get pushed out from their space and impinge on either a nerve root kind of exiting the spinal cord or directly on the spinal cord itself. So certainly if anyone's ever experienced it, they can be very painful. They can cause pain running down a leg or an arm, depending on where it's at. They can cause weakness, and they can cause localized back pain as well. Now, the key for him so far is that it's currently asymptomatic, meaning he's not having any pain or symptoms at the moment, but it is a known medical issue. And so the question becomes like, will this ever become asymptomatic? Is this something where it can worsen if he has, an injury or falls on it, or, just thinking about linemen in general. When you are standing up to a bull rush, when you are trying to make sure no one gets around the corner, like there's a lot of pressure and there's a lot of compression in your spine when you're putting your arms up and trying to block somebody. And so I think it's a fairly legitimate concern that it could worsen because there is some evidence that may say that like if you already have a herniated disc, that disc is weakened and there's a chance that it can worsen with maybe not as much of a traumatic injury. So it's definitely something to consider. Teams are kind of getting a little bit more skeptical or kind of wary of it, I should say, just because that injury exists. But the good news is, he played a ton of snaps in college. We don't know when this happened. This injury could be very chronic. It could have occurred years ago, and it's just never been a problem or flared up for him, or it could have occurred in this last season or within the last couple of weeks. And so that's the risk. And certainly we know drafting players with an injury history is more risky than someone who maybe has a clean bill of health. So that's it's definitely going to play an impact, I think, and we may definitely see him fall. We've seen other people fall when news breaks the day before the draft or the day of the draft. So it's definitely something to be on alert for in this draft.
Interesting. I certainly you don't want to see the player fall, but like I said a couple of weeks ago, he was kind of a shoe-in. It was going to happen. The Cardinals were more likely than not going to draft CC Maui. No, and they still might. But obviously, given that, I've heard in several conversations with very reputable sources saying, watch for him to maybe fall a little bit just because of that. A lot of teams are nervous about something like that. And you mentioned it, the bull rush alone or just getting pushed around on the offensive line. It can be a big deal. So certainly you don't want to see anybody fall. But I just want to talk about that player specifically as the Browns are, as you know, in the market for an offensive tackle. So let's get into the value. David, last week we did number 6 overall, what that looked like. Let's turn it over to the second first-round pick, picking it 24 overall. And I have heard some rumors circulating that it's more likely that the Browns are going to trade that pick than they would their first-round pick number 6 overall. I don't know how much I'm buying into that, but I'm curious what this can look like from a value standpoint. So I will turn it over to you. Talk to us.
Yeah. So just like last week, I kind of looked at previous drafts and looked at the 24 overall pick, but any picks around it. So 23, 24, 25, 26, just to see what potential trade value is there. Because that's really what we're kind of examining here is with 2 first-round picks, there's a high likelihood that the Browns are going to be willing to trade one of those. And so what can we expect that the Browns might get if they say, hey, we're sticking with number 6, we got our guy there, but maybe 24 will move around. And so we'll just start with the last season. I've got 5 seasons to go through. I won't belabor it, but in 2025 at pick number 24, so exactly what the Browns have, the Vikings took Donovan Jackson. There's no trade there, no difference, nothing there. So, just kind of get an idea for the players that were going there. But at the very next pick, number 25, the Texans were there, and they traded that to the Giants for picks number 34 and 99, as well as a 2026 third rounder, just for that one pick. So, I mean, overall, when you look at that, you're getting a early second rounder in exchange for that late first rounder. You're getting a third rounder, and then another third round in 2026. Pretty good value there. You trade 1 for 3. Overall, at 25, with the Giants taking over, they took Jackson Dart. We know that he obviously became their starter. And then at 26 in the same season, the Rams had that. They traded it to the Falcons for pick 46, pick 242, and for a 2026 first rounder. And the Rams ended up giving up pick number 26 and pick number 101. So that's pretty crazy. You give up 26 and then like a late third or early fourth rounder, and you get in exchange a second rounder, like a 6th or 7th rounder, but then a first rounder the following year. So we don't see that a lot. When I'm going through these trades, it depends on where that first rounder ended up. I don't know which pick it is this year. Actually, it didn't list it. I don't know if you know off the top of your head which it is, but the Rams ended up taking, or the Falcons ended up taking James Pierce Jr. there. And ultimately that did not work out for the Falcons, and they ended up losing a first round pick this year.
Which if you're telling me there's a world where you can trade out of 24 and just slightly move back into the second round and get a first next year in what we're anticipating to be a fairly loaded draft. I mean, sign me up for that all day. However, I don't think it's possible. I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think Atlanta was stupid in doing so. And obviously the player that they drafted, has had some legal issues, and we don't know what his future looks like. So it is a really scary thing when you look at teams like Atlanta that get desperate. Dustin, you talk about this all the time. You don't want to get desperate because then they end up mortgaging their future for, a player that got himself into trouble. We don't know if he's going to have an NFL career. So, I mean, I don't know. That's interesting. Let's go through a couple of more scenarios if you have any. But
I do. Yeah. So
that's an outlier.
Yeah. So I mean, and it is. There's not the precedent here really. As I'll get to the rest of these is 24. You trade up to maybe 27 or 28 in the same draft. That's really what it looks like. That's the only one where you're getting a first rounder in the next year's draft, which I think, like you said, much more of a higher risk. So going back to 2024, the Browns had picked 24 in 2024. And this was all a part of the Deshaun Watson trade. And so Browns traded this pick to the Texans. The Texans eventually traded to the Vikings, who then traded to the Jags, ultimately took Brian Thomas Jr. So just more for what's available, what can come out of this pick. I mean, that's a wide receiver one. That's a starting wide receiver one who produced greatly as a rookie. Maybe not as as productive as sophomore year, but like he there's value there, and that's encouraging because we know wide receiver is kind of what's being looked at pretty heavily for this pick for the Browns if they were not to trade. Same year, 2024, pick number 25, the Cowboys. They traded pick number 25 and a 2025 7th round pick to the Lions in exchange for 29 and 73. So the Lions ended up at 25, the Cowboys ended up at 29, but they also got a third rounder in the same season. So again, you're going back 5 spots, but then you get a third rounder. I don't hate that, especially if you think your guy's going to be available for you 5 spots later. The Lions ended up taking Terry and Arnold at pick 25. Jumping back to 2023, pick 24, the Jags had it. They traded number 24 to the Giants for pick 25, 160, and 240. So, I mean, they literally moved back 1 spot. But the Giants clearly wanted their guy and gave up a 4th and 5th rounder for that one, or a 4th and 6th rounder. So, again, pretty good value there, where if you think you're only going back 1, your guy's going to be there, and then you get a couple more later in the draft. Giants ended up taking Deonte Banks. And then pick number 25, actually, I'm sorry, Deonte Banks was taken there, but actually the Giants then traded 25 for the Jags. We traded to the Bills for 27 and 130, and the Giants took Dalton Kincaid. So the Jags went from 24 to 25 to 27, ended up getting 160, 240, and 130. So they ultimately traded 1 and ended up getting 4 in that draft that year. So the Jags made some pretty good moves there, and then the Giants ended up taking Dalton Kincaid at 25. So there's a lot that you can get done in terms of moving things around with this late first rounder. 2022, the Cardinals traded pick 23 to the Ravens for Marcus Brown and pick number 100. So you get a player and then pick 100. And then the Ravens ended up trading that pick to the Bills for pick 25 and 130. So it's kind of similar what you're hearing here. Mid-20 pick, you can end up moving back a couple spots, but then also get maybe a fourth and a fifth rounder, third rounder. And similarly, the Bills traded pick 25 in 2022 to the Ravens for 25 and 130, or 23 and 130, excuse me. So that's kind of just a look at it. I got one more 2021. There's a lot happening. Interesting. In 2021, the Rams had picked 25, and they traded that and pick 130 and a 2020 pick to the Jags for Jalen Ramsey. And then the Jags took Travis Etienne. So, I mean, like, that worked out for both teams pretty well. Just like we talked about last week, I think kind of my conclusion here is don't be afraid, or don't worry or be too fearful if a trade ends up happening with the 24 pick, because there's a lot of value you can get for it. I would say ultimately what you can expect if you think the Browns are going to have trading out of 24 would be likely something later. So just trading back with one of the teams behind them, getting into 26, 28, 29, something like that. But then also expecting maybe a third or fourth rounder as well, or like a fourth and a sixth. So you could get 2, maybe 3 picks out of this. And, you can do a lot of maneuvering. Now, once you get into the 5th, 6th, 7th round, the value maybe drops pretty significantly, and you're not going to hit on a lot of those guys. But if you can get later first rounder and then a third rounder, I think that might be worth it if you expect somebody's still going to be there later in the first round for the position you want.
Yeah. Outside of a couple of years ago when Atlanta did that, there really is no precedent for these late first round picks to essentially turn into a first next year in most capacities. Outside of that was pretty chaotic. And even that, it doesn't always guarantee you a lot of second round picks either. It really is, you're looking at moving back a little bit, potentially acquiring a second, but most likely a third, right? I mean, that's kind of the precedent here.
Yeah, there was only, I think, one example where someone ended up getting into the second round, but they were completely out of the first round of that pick. Then it was the Texans last year. They traded 25 to the Giants for $34.99 and a third rounder this year or the following season. So even though they didn't have the end of their first round pick, they ended up getting a second and 2/3. So just depends on what you value and where you want to be at in terms of draft selection.
Mm-hmm. We've got a couple of people in the comments here that are fans of other teams. So be curious to know who you want your team to take. This is my favorite time of year, draft time. This is what they sit in, look at their team to do, and I love it. So if you don't mind commenting, go ahead.
I will tell you this, it's interesting. I've ran into multiple Jaguars fans, and this just warms my heart. And they're like, oh yeah, one of you fleeced us last year. You fleeced us. So from a Jaguar standpoint, they absolutely believe, Graham is going to be a solid player for years to come. And I think we've only seen the surface of what Graham can be for that interior defensive line. And, again, Barry doing Barry things. Now, I do have a question. The smoke that is out there, the Browns would have to, if they're going to give up the 6 for the 12 and 20, we'd have to give up our second round pick as well. That's in there as part of that equation to the Cowboys. Is that correct? Is that kind of the crux of that? It would be, we would then have 12, 20, and we'd have to give up our second rounder this year. Was that kind of the thought process I thought that was out there?
David, do you know the answer to that?
I believe it was. And here's the thing. I like it, but I don't. I would push the Cowboys to make us keep our second and say, hey, if you want Sonny Styles really that bad, tough it. We're keeping our second round pick. But I believe that's what it was. And the reason I don't like it is because we don't have 2 second round picks. And then that means we're not picking to the third round. And that just, to me, I have a problem with that. But
yeah, that is.
Go ahead, David.
I just say that is what the kind of trade proposal or idea was out there. It was 6 and 39 for 12 and 20. So you're moving back a little bit, but moving up to 20. So, I mean, yeah, you're losing your second rounder, but then you have 12, 20, and 24. So,
example, I'd almost rather have moved back to 12. Cowboys, I guess keep your 20. We'll pick at 24 and keep the second rounder. I guess it all depends on how this board falls, and there's no way to know that until we're in it. So a lot of these, I think, are probably, and this is what we talked about last week, is just contingency plans upon contingency plans on, if A, B, and C happen, we're going to do D, or if this happens, we're going to do this. So there's so many different scenarios, and that is one thing shown in the past couple of years that he is good at. not being overly overly emotional, rash, dramatic in any capacity. I think when you go into a draft, even though you're the Cleveland Browns and things have not gone the way that you want them to at all, one thing that you can feel pretty good about is that Andrew Berry typically makes pretty level-headed decisions. Now, do some of those picks always work out? No. But you don't often see, wow, the Browns got fleeced in this trade. Typically, it's the other way around. So rest assured that if they are making a trade, more likely than not, now anything can happen, but more likely than not, they'll come out, they'll benefit in some capacity. So yeah, I think this is really going to get interesting, and I'm really excited. I really have no idea. David and I were going through our mocks today, and we're going to get to that here in a second. And I redid this 15 times because I'm like, I have no idea. Because if this team trades up, we're going to do this. They want this player, and that pushes this player to here, and that's not really a team need. It is so chaotic. I cannot wait for it. It is pure cinema. So with that,
I was just say, and with that said, I could see the Browns, because of the way Andrew Berry wheels and deals, the Browns could literally make a trade and then turn into another trade in the first round. I mean, they could move up and down that board twice in the first round. I could absolutely see the Browns, just because Andrew Berry's like, look, I kicked ass last year in the draft. I think I can do some damage this year. And man, if I can manipulate next year and we do well this year, well, then we're really working with some really good players in the future.
You know what I really enjoy? We don't really see a lot of it, is draft day player trades. I love seeing those things where somebody sends a player in, exchange for their first that year or something like that. I love seeing that. We haven't really seen that in the past couple of years all that often. So I'm hoping maybe we'll get some drama, we'll get some action. But this is a lot of fun. I think it's time, guys. Let's get into our mock drafts if you're ready to. I came up with, and this probably isn't perfect, but I came up with a scoring system. So rather than us just monitoring our drafts and saying, oh, this player went here, we're going to assign a point total to everything. So let me read you what I came up with. Who was the most accurate. So we're doing the top 10 of this year's draft. You can throw in any trades you want, any chaos, bold predictions, whatever you want. I don't care how you do it, but you'll get 2 points for the correct player at the correct pick. You'll get 1 point if you correctly predict a trade. So, for example, if you say the Cowboys are going to move up to 6, you'll get a point for that. And you'll also get a point if you get the correct player and team if it's the wrong pick. So, for example, if you say, oh, the Browns are going to draft Caden Proctor at 6, but they end up doing that at 24, you'll get a point for that. So that's my grading system. I'm going to write down everybody's mock draft, and then I'll keep track of this I'll keep track of this tomorrow night. So, Dustin, we'll start with you. Let's go ahead and go through your draft. I'll let you do picks 1 through 10. We'll just, let's not go one by one by one.
So you want all 10 of mine. We're not going to go back and forth, is what you're saying.
Correct. Yep. Okay. I want you to tell me if you've got any trades. If you've got anything crazy, I'm going to write it down, and let's hear your top 10 mock draft.
Okay, so I have obviously Las Vegas Raiders, Fernando Mendoza. I think the whole world has that. Yep. And then I have David Bailey going at number 2 to the Jets.
Yep.
Arvell Reese going to the Cardinals. Sonny Styles going to the Titans. Then I have Francis, I'm going to mispronounce, Mayoga going to the Giants. Then the Browns, ding, ding, make a trade. I don't know who's going to trade up to them, but hang on one second.
I need to know who you're going to put here. That's part of it. I need to know which team is going to trade up.
They trade up, and the person wanted Caleb Downs.
Who's trading up?
The Giants. They wanted Caleb Downs, so they move up to get Caleb Downs.
All right, so the Giants are picking 5 and 6 in your mock.
Right. That's in this unique sense. They wanted their premier players.
All right, got it. Cool.
And then 7, Mansur Delane.
Okay.
8, Carnell Tate.
Are you having the Commanders take Delane?
Yes, Delane goes to the Commanders. Sorry, yes. Number 9.
Sorry,
This is where,
you have
unfortunately, what's that?
who do you have at 8?
8, I had Cornell Tate going to the Saints.
Okay.
Number 9, I have Reuben Baines going to the Kansas City Chiefs.
Okay.
And I have the Browns at number 10.
All right.
And I got to meet him today, and I think he'd be a really good pick. Jordan Tyson, wide receiver.
All right. All right. Perfect. All right, Ella, Dustin. I think that's interesting. You've got a little chaos here with the Giants going back to back, but anything can happen. I like it. I have a feeling that out of the three of us, some of these are probably going to be fairly similar, right? We're looking at the same big boards, all of that. Just want to see, what drama you're throwing into it. So I will keep track of this. Just a reminder, you get 2 points for picking the correct player at the exact pick, 1 point for correctly picking a trade. So Dustin, for you, that is the Browns at 10 and the Giants there at 6. And 1 point for the correct player and team, even if it's the wrong pick. David, you are up. Give me your 10.
Yeah, I guess that would be just like John Harbaugh to end up picking 5 and 6 in his first season with that team. Whatever. It's bold. I like it.
Well, no, the reason I did that is because I think someone like the new head coach there is going to be aggressive and wants his shutdown corner going into the future and kind of building his team. That's kind of where I was going with that. That's kind of where I came up with that. And, oh, by the way, all the smoke of the Cowboys and all these other teams, it would be absolutely another team that nobody sees coming out of nowhere, a trade with the Browns. So.
Sorry, you said shutdown corner. Did I miss a trade here for Delane?
Safety. Okay. Sorry, safety, Caleb.
Oh, okay. I just wanted to make sure. I have it written down. I don't want to get your draft wrong.
But like a premier player that someone like Harbaugh would want in that defense.
Yeah. All right, cool.
That makes sense. I mean, it's kind of like his version of Kyle Hamilton now in New York. So, all right. Just like him, and I'm sure like all of us, I got the Raiders taking Mendoza at 1. At 2, I got the Jets taking David Bailey. There's kind of been some back and forth in terms of where they're going, where they're settling. Ultimately, like the Jets have always been a defense forward team, and they need help there. And it seems like David Bailey is probably in their minds the safer pick over someone like Arvell Reese, a little bit more established at his position. He's been playing that for longer, more snaps there. So I think that makes the most sense. 3 is where I have my first trade. I have the Chiefs trading up to 3 to get Arvell Reese. I think that the Chiefs will just do a pick-for-pick trade with the Cardinals, and they'll swap something later in. But the Chiefs have 2 first-rounders. They are still close. I mean, they didn't make the playoffs last year, but Patrick had an ACL tear. And so they're always close. They're always a player or 2 away. And I think that starts on defense for them this season. And I think that there is some concern that, like, if they stay at 9, they may not be able to get either of these guys, Arvell Reese or Bain. And I think that they probably want someone to help on the edge and kind of a off-ball linebacker. So my first prediction here for a trade is the Chiefs coming up at 3, taking Arvell Reese. At 4, I got the Titans taking Sonny Styles. I think Robert Saleh, defensive-minded guy, love Fred Warner. I think that just makes sense. That's a good fit. 5, I have the Giants taking Love. They need some more help at running back. We don't know what Cam Skidmore is going to be like. He's probably not going to be around for very long in the league because of just how violently he plays. And again, it's just this is a hallmark player. I mean, think like I hate making all these associations, but it's just so relevant to us. Like with Derrick Henry in Baltimore and Harbaugh there, this is another player who can be monumental to an organization. At 6, I have the Browns staying put. I don't think they're going to trade out. I think if they do, it's going to be 24. And I think they're going to go with CC Mawinoa here. I know we just talked about it in the injury thing. And while I may not like that pick, I think it's what the Browns are going to do. I think they may say it's worth the risk. This is a guy that we can play immediately. He's going to be able to fit our scheme, but we can fit around him as well. And I think that they stick to who has kind of been the number 1 tackle since, pro days and the combine. At 7, I've got the Commanders taking Cornell Tate. They've had success with Ohio State receivers in the past, obviously, with Terry McLaurin. And I think that they would like to add to that because they're coming off kind of a down season after making it to the NFC Championship 2 years ago. And I think they want to have some more weapons for that offense, and Cornell Tate fits that pretty well. At 8, I have another trade. I have the Cowboys trading up to 8, getting the Saints out of the top 10 because they want Reuben Bain. I think Jerry Jones knows he needs to fill the void that is left for Micah Parsons, and Arvell Reese is already gone. And so Reuben Bain is your next choice. So I have the Cowboys coming up to 8 to take Reuben Bain. And then at 9, where we have the Cardinals because they trade with the Chiefs, I have them taking Spencer Fano. I think the Cardinals are really in a position where they just want more draft picks. So I think they are still hungry to trade out, and I think the Chiefs are a team willing to trade up. And they need some foundational pieces still. And so adding another tackle in there, I think, is going to be something that they need to build upon their future. And at 10, I have the Giants taking Caleb Downs. So they still get him, Dustin, but they get him at 10 instead of 6.
Interesting. I have 2 observations. Well, actually, one's a comment to a comment, and I'll start with that. Angel puts here, do you think the value of Reese playing multiple positions can help a defense who needs multiple pieces? Actually, I think that is part of the risk. So, like, if the Cardinals, who have so many holes on their roster, taking somebody like Arvell Reese, I think is personally a risk because it kind of gives me oh God, what was his name? Isaiah Simmons flashbacks, if you will. One of those hybrid players that can do a lot of really good things, but not one really great thing. And I think that him going to a team like the Chiefs or kind of a ready-made team will allow him to, one, just elevate to the player that we think that he can become, but really just showcase his multiple skill sets, if you will. So I think that's a really interesting spot for him, David, Arvell Reese to the Chiefs. I hate it because I think it'll work really well, and I don't want that to happen. But I think Reese is really dependent on the team that he goes to. A ready-made team, with a good defensive coordinator or defensive-minded head coach makes a ton of sense. But to somebody like the Cardinals, that would really give me pause, especially as an Arvell Reese fan, as an Ohio State fan. You want to see these guys succeed. My next comment actually has to do with Dustin's mock. Dustin, I'm surprised by this. You're so high on this guy. You had Jeremiah Love falling out of your top 10, and I'm surprised by that.
Well, that was my that was our top 10. My other draft that we may do for the Browns may be different. So I was just having a little fun. So I'm still high on Jeremiah Love.
No. I just mean for our predictions, right? Like this is to see who has the most accurate draft. So I'm curious why you have him falling out of the top 10.
I'll tell you why I have him falling out of the top 10. Because of at this point, just because of the craziness of the draft and trades, back to players that want that elite safety, that defensive end, all those players. And if they're moving up, that pushes the running back position down just by default because of its value overall. That's why I had him now I'm not saying he gets out of the top 15. And of course, my nightmare, and I had Chiefs fans laughing at me today. They're like, wouldn't you love that he falls to the Chiefs at number 9 and they snatch him up. And now they have a perennial running back to go along with Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that would be my worst nightmare that he goes to the Chiefs. But
and Kenneth Walker.
What's that?
That'd be interesting.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think he may slip out just because of the simple fact of just so many. To your point, David, somebody moving all the way up to 3, and then somebody calls the Browns right to move, and they're not looking at a running back. All of a sudden, that does possibly knock him into the teens, right? I mean, it just does because teams aren't jumping that high probably for a running back at that point. Now, if teams kind of stay put, I do believe Jeremiah Love will still go in the top 10.
Okay, interesting. I think this is a really interesting dynamic. If you look at the Giants, who have 2 first-round picks in the top 10, in my opinion, I never love drafting a running back that high, especially if you're a team like the Browns where you've got so many positions of need. You don't have the luxury of taking a running back. What are you doing? So now for a team like the Giants that have 2 first-round picks in the top 10 and not as many holes, it makes sense for them to go best player available, and that's probably Jeremiah Love with one of those picks. And the next being some defensive guy, whether that's Sonny Styles, Arvell, Caleb Downs, or whoever would fall to them at 10, essentially. Because don't forget, they've got Malik Neighbors coming back this season off of an ACL. So really interesting, guys. I'm really intrigued by the Giants, Dustin, what you have them doing with the 2 first-round picks at 5 and 6. That is John Harbaugh. I can see him doing that totally. And David, I think the Chiefs. So what is your mind And then we'll, or yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, and I was to say, but that's Harbaugh controlling his own destiny, right? Like, hey, if I can move up and get my back-to-back players that we have spotted for us in the first round, and I can make that happen and go get them, and say like, hey, we feel like we won the first round of the draft when we got our guys, and now we have even better talent to go around here. I mean, that does not strike me at all. And John Harbaugh is no longer a young coach in the National Football League, so I can also see him being aggressive and going after players that is going to make an immediate impact on his football team.
All right. So with me, just like everybody else in the history of the world, number 1 overall, the Raiders are taking Fernando Mendoza. At 2, I have the Jets taking David Bailey. So we're consistent there, everybody. Like I said at the start, a lot of rumors past couple of days about them being all in on Arvell Reese and them canceling their visit with David Bailey. I think it's all smoke. I think they're going to take David Bailey, number 2 overall. This is where I have my first trade. And just like you, David, I have this team selecting Arvell Reese, but I think it's the Cowboys. I think they move up to 3 overall. Now, I think that is a little rich. I do. I don't think Jerry Jones is really the guy to do that, but Arvell Reese could be kind of the next Micah Parsons, if you will. Obviously, the Cowboys no longer have that player. You can get him at a cheaper price point than Micah Parsons. Now, I could see Arvell Reese just working in Dallas. I could see, the framework's already there. I could see that happening. So I'm going to go Cowboys at 3 with Arvell Reese. 4, the Tennessee Titans taking Sonny Styles. You mentioned it, David. Robert Saleh, defensive guy. He loved having Fred Warner in San Francisco. I think you probably view Sonny Styles as a similar player. They go Sonny Styles here at 4. At 5, I've got the New York Football Giants taking Jeremiah Love. Basically just what I just mentioned. They've got 2 first-round picks in the top 10. Why not? Cam Scadaboo's probably short shelf life. Go get this dynamic, electric offensive playmaker for this young offense. 6, I've got the Browns staying put. I think this is where I went back and forth with a lot. I don't know what they're going to do. I really have no idea. It terrifies me. There's so many needs. There's so many ways it could go about this. I've got the Browns staying at 6, taking my top tackle, that's Spencer Fano out of Utah. I'd be about that. I think he's got some versatility on what he can do on the offensive line, can answer a lot of questions for you. And what we know about Todd Monken and George Warhop, what they like to do offensively, it is not just one thing. They are not strictly, a zone team. They don't just do one thing. It is all personnel based. So I think Spencer Fano brings that to the table. At 7, I've got the Commanders taking Mansour Delane. 8, the Saints taking Carnell Tate. They need a receiver badly. They only have Chris Olave that's battled through so many concussions. Outside of that, I think Vele's the next guy. They need a receiver. 9, I've got the Chiefs taking Reuben Bain. And then at 10, I've got the Giants taking Caleb Downs. So there you have it. There's our mocks. A lot of similarities, couple of differences in trade. I don't think there's anything here that is outside of, no Jeremiah Love in the top 10. I think that's probably the hottest take here. Otherwise, I can see any of this happening in any combination of things. I think that there's probably a world, guys, where there's a team that we haven't mentioned that is willing and able and may just move up into the top 10. I think the Rams are possibly one of those teams. I think, I don't know. I think the Rams are one to watch there. But there you go. There you have it. There's our mocks. We will come back at you next week on who won. What do you got?
I want to add something really interesting to your point about smoke and smoke screens and everything in the NFL draft. When I talked to Caden McDonald today, when we had one-on-one interviews, one of the things that was brought up was someone's like, hey, I've heard there's some interest that the Ravens might be looking at you. And he kind of did one of these and they said, well, I didn't have a visit. And that's usually a pretty good indication of a team that may want you. So to your point, just because a team has a top 30 visit doesn't mean that guy's even being looked at. It's all part of the process to get other teams to not realize what you're doing. So, I mean, we may see that tomorrow on draft day where someone like Hayden, he goes to the Ravens.
Yeah, definitely. Actually, that kind of brings me to the next segment here. And before we do that, want to tell you about our good friends over at We Bleed Ohio, guys. If you're looking for your official Here We Go Brownies podcast, hat, t-shirt, sweatshirt, all of that, or of course they can do some basketball, football, baseball designs. You need some new sports apparel, head on over to We Bleed Ohio. They do it right. They do it fast. They're awesome. So please be sure to check out our friends over there. It kind of brings me to my next thing I want to do. And that is, maybe somebody that you're kind of irrationally high on, and also somebody that you're kind of irrationally low on. So just based off of some of the smoke that we've seen, some top 30 visits, things like that, guys that we think could sneak into the first round. I want to start with you, David. Give me a player that it can be in any round, doesn't have to be just a first round grade, but a player or two that you are just, no matter what, you would love to see your team get this player.
Yeah, so I got two. First one I'm going to go with is D'Angelo Pons. I think he is a really, really versatile player. And I know, that's not crazy to say him in terms of, irrationally high because, he's currently ranked on the PFF Big Board at 43 overall. So, he's a borderline, middle second rounder. But I could see a world where if a team is just in love with this guy and it fits the need perfectly, that they could get him early second round, beginning of even first round potentially, because I think he's got a ton of upside. He can be a special teams player. He can be a very dangerous returner. He's got a ton of speed, and he's a very solid cornerback. He knows how to play the position, and I think that he was a major part of why Indiana won a national championship last year. And so he's someone that I think I would be very intrigued by, and I would be very happy to see drafted. The other one that I have in my head, which maybe is a little bit more of a homer pick, is Will Kazmarek. We love Will Kazmarek with his time at Ohio State after he transferred from OU. And I just think he is a nearly complete tight end. I think he's a very good blocker, and that's really what they brought him in for at Ohio State. But he showed that he can get out there and catch. I think he had 14 catches on 15 targets last season. Something where he catches balls that are thrown his way. And so when you think of the Browns, who, right now you've really just got Harold Fannin Jr., who's an excellent receiving tight end, but not a true inline kind of tight end one. You're looking for maybe another tight end in this draft. And I think Will Kazmarek is really low on the total tight end list, but I think in the right situation, he could be, I could see him going in the third round potentially, just because he's got it all. I think he's a complete package, and he goes out there and grinds. The guy works really hard, and we saw him at the Senior Bowl, and he's a big body. He gets out there. He's quicker than you think, kind of getting up into just a quick release route. So those are the two that I kind of have in mind just when I look at overall this big board.
Mm-hmm. So what about you? Is there anybody that you're just kind of regardless of position, that you're just super high on? You are muted.
Yeah. So this is interesting, and call me crazy because we're being a little crazy here, right? This is a little over, what could be a crazy situation for the Browns. Browns trade out of number 6. They still get their wide receiver. They still get their tackle. And because of the connection to Todd Monk, and the Browns at 24 take Ty Simpson, they get a quarterback, a wide receiver, and a tackle all in the first round. It may sound crazy, but I don't know if it's that crazy.
Okay. I have heard some of those things, but I just want to know, not what the Browns are going to do, what you think. Is there a player that you, Dustin, you're the GM of the Cleveland Browns, somebody that you are kind of irrationally high on, regardless of position?
Oh, I think Jeremiah Love, just because of how versatile he is as a player. And honestly, some have made their references to he's another McCaffrey because of everything that he can do at that position. And the Browns don't have that kind of guy that can do that right now, and he can make an immediate impact. So would I be happy if the Browns at number 6 took Jeremiah Love tomorrow? Absolutely.
Well, again, I'm not asking what the Browns are going to do. Just from your scouting, from what we have done, and I guess maybe I'm kind of taking the top 10 guys out of this just because somebody that you're irrationally high on is kind of my viewpoint on this. I'll go and I'll come back to you if you've got somebody that is maybe a fringe player that you like that could sneak into the first round in some capacity. For me, I love Keelan Rutledge, the guard out of Georgia Tech. I really like this player. I think regardless of where he goes, in the NFL draft, into what team, I think he is going to be a day one contributor. He's got great size. He's 6'4". He's got decent arms. I mean, he's explosive off the ball. He's very athletic. And I think similarly to Spencer Fano, while he's not going to be a tackle, he still has versatility on the offensive line. He can do a lot of things. He can move around. He's not just a one-trick pony. For that, I've got him. Also, another guy that I really like, and probably a first rounder, most likely a first rounder, but I really like this player. The more I learn about him, the more I like. I mean, kind of average size. He's not, he's not a huge red zone target or anything like that, but he's very versatile, and that is something that I think this team needs. We've got a lot of guys that can do a lot of the same things. We've had that issue for years. He's flexible. He can do a lot of different things. Very competitive. He's tough. He's reliable. He's got reliable hands, and that's what I like. That is something that this team hasn't had in a long time. So I'm kind of irrationally high on those two guys. That I'm just counting for those two. Dustin, I don't know if you've got anybody that you're high or low on, but I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, if there's a run on wide receivers, I do like Denzel Boston because of his big body, physical receiver. I mean, I would sign me up for that all day long if we're able to grab him, if there isn't a run on wide receivers. But Denzel Boston, I mean, I'm a Boise State guy, so I watch a lot of West Coast football, but give me Denzel Boston, the wide receiver.
Yeah, okay.
From Washington.
All right. Same vein, and David, I'll start with you here. Some of you are like kind of low on. Maybe that is a consensus, first round pick or whatever, and you're just like, I don't know, I can't get on board with it. Is there anybody you got?
So real quick, I want to comment on yours. Keelan Rutledge is a hog molly. That dude is gonna be awesome. I mean, like, he's creeping up there like Jennings Dunker level, I think, in my brain a little bit. Truthfully, I was actually expecting you to say EMW, Emmanuel McNeil Warren. I know you love that guy. And I know he's projected 21, but I mean, like, let's take him at 12. Like, I mean, that he seems like he can be a day one contributor as well. So I was expecting you to bring him into it, but either way, I love the ones that you brought up. So for me, someone I'm irrationally low on, and I cannot explain it. I don't know why, but it is Casey Concepcion. I don't want him. I don't want him on my team. I don't know why, but there is just something that rubs me the wrong way. I don't know if it's because he goes to A&M. I don't like A&M, or if it's because he is small and like kind of a gadget player. But maybe it's because I'm framing it in the idea of like who I want the Browns to take at 24, and it's not him. But I don't want him. I want a wide receiver one. I want a big body, go up and get the ball kind of guy. I don't always see these gadget players as the guys who get your team over the edge and get you to the Super Bowl and things like that. And I know, like, he's an inch shorter and 10 pounds lighter than someone like JSN, the best wide receiver in the league last year. So is he truly just a gadget player? But I mean, I feel like that's more of the description that he's had is this little speedy, quirky guy. And I don't know. It's not for me. There's something I don't like about it.
Dustin, what about you?
I interviewed him, but I mean, there's all this kind of, he may fall to us, and that's Proctor. I mean, there's been comments about his feet work and stuff like that, but that's kind of one of those, there's some of that, but he's also a big body. What is he, 6'8", I believe, something like that. He's a big fit. I mean, I saw him. I mean, he looks smaller outside of pads today, but he looks like a beast in pads. But yeah, that's a guy that you worry about his feet work, right? I mean, we talk about Joe Thomas. It's all the importance of the feet work, right? And every inch counts, and every step you make towards that planted foot when you're getting ready to, I don't know. That's just one Proctor, But again, we also have a very good offensive line coach that he's well regarded in the NFL, and maybe he can fix that. But there's a hell of a possibility that Proctor is going to land to the Browns, and he might be the guy if we don't go with a tackle at 6.
For me, the guy that I'm low on, and this is somebody that I was very high on weeks ago, but I've now moved him to I'm a little low on him. Like, I just don't have much of an interest here, and that's Monroe Freeling. I think that he's a project, and that's why I don't like him. I think he's going to be a good player for a team that has the luxury to wait on that. I think that the current construct of this offensive line, the Browns don't really have that luxury. I think that they need to have somebody that can come in and contribute right away. And for that reason, I'm just a little bit lower on Monroe Freeling than I have been. He's not as athletic as some of these other guys. He's not as versatile as some of these other guys. And he just hasn't had the amount of snaps as a lot of these other guys. And one thing we know about Andrew Berry, what he likes to do, it's high production players at big time programs and universities. Certainly Monroe Freeling, he's played at a big time program, but the production snap count just isn't there in the same capacity as some of these other guys. So for that, I'm a little bit lower. I'm a little lower on Mekhi Lemon than I was at the start of this. And possibly just because he was weird at the combine, that could be it. I don't know. But that's what I've got. After these ad reads, guys, here's what I want to do. I want to make some predictions, and I want us to predict the Browns' first 3 picks in the NFL draft. We will include this into our predictions and see who is, the most accurate. So before I do that, while you guys are thinking about it, I just want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at City Barbecue, guys. If you're wondering what you should have for lunch, dinner, or maybe a catered event, it's City Barbecue. They're the best in the business. They've got award-winning sauces, sides, meats. They do it right. They're very friendly, very easy to work with. As I mentioned, they can cater your event. If you've got something coming up, whether it's a wedding, shower, corporate event, whatever, they've got you covered. So please be sure to check them out over at City Barbecue. So let's do that. We're only going to predict the Browns' first 3 picks. Now, it could be via trade, whatever. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Just the first 3 picks of this year's draft by the Cleveland Browns. Give me your predictions. David, let me start with you.
All right. So first, the Browns' first pick, I'm going with Francis Mauigoa.
Okay.
I'm sticking with that in terms of like my mock draft 2 for the top 10. So I think they're taking CC with the first one. And I'm saying they're staying put. So then at 24, I think they're taking Denzel Boston. Maybe that's my bias because I don't like Casey Concepcion, but I think he's going to be available, and I think that he is going to fit the mold for what they want. They don't have a wide receiver 1. They don't have a true X receiver, and he has the potential for that. And then in the second round of 39, I think they're going to go Zion Young. I think that looking at what's available and kind of the needs of the team and what's kind of the value there, I think that this is a really good fit. He's better against the run than he is against the pass, and I think he can really complement Miles on the opposite side of the line. He can solve that problem and kind of, they've been dancing around and we've had, some decent players on the opposite side, but I think he's someone who has a lot of good SEC experience and someone that can really kind of come in, contribute pretty early on and help bolster this defensive line. And that's my first 3 picks.
All right. I like it. Dustin, what do you got? Give me your first 3.
Mine with this draft, for the purposes of this, I'm going to go, they stay put at number 6. And they actually go Spencer Fano.
Okay.
The tackle out of Utah, because of his versatility and being able to play all along the line. We know the depth is always an issue with the Cleveland Browns line. So this is more of a fix and also a good player. 24, Denzel Boston, the wide receiver, big-bodied receiver, can be that number 1 for us. And then I've been doing some research on this guy. The safety, Emmanuel McNeil Warren out of Toledo, be a great guy in that safety room at number with that pick at number 3.
All right, cool. I actually wrote 2 down because I wasn't sure. I didn't want to have something too similar to you guys. So I'm gonna go with my second one here. The first one, which I'm just putting it out there, I'm not going to use as my prediction. I just want to read it. I went with Spencer Fano, Tyson, and Emmanuel McNeil Warren. But for the sake of this, I would want to change things up a little bit. I'm actually going to go with Carnell Tate with the first pick, Caden Proctor with the second, and Emmanuel McNeil Warren with the third pick. Listen, guys, I think out of any of those, I wouldn't be too upset. I'm interested. And then the other one that I did, if I went Fano, I probably would have considered Omar Cooper Jr. there, but that's just my own personal bias. I really like the guy. But we've got some tangible things that we can pay attention to. So we will keep you posted on who's the winner of all of these fun little contests that we're doing. But Dustin, before we wrap, do you mind telling our listeners about our good friends over at Primetime?
Yeah, guys, Primetime Sports has been in Pittsburgh all day with 12 to 13 players. They've been over in downtown here doing eBay Live with a bunch of players. And check them out. They got a lot of players coming up this next weekend. Some baseball players, some football players, from Doc Gooden till a lot of great players. But check them out. Go to primetime12.com to get your tickets and check them out. And like I said, if you're at the draft tomorrow, if you're coming as a Browns fan or any fans, come down here, Stadium Mustard, Brats. It's all free, 1 to 5, right down here at Ditto in Pittsburgh, DITTO. and look for us. Larry's Bus will be here. Come check it out. Have some Here We Go Ronnie's wine. I mean, that's always a little bit of fun, right? So enjoy that. So come down here, and just like that, Allie, it's 8 o'clock, and we are 24 hours away from the draft.
Yes, but before we wrap up, we're gonna go with a quick lightning round of what did I say we're gonna do, David? Biggest draft night. So that can be a bold prediction from any of you, something you think could happen. David, I'll start with you. Give me your biggest draft night surprise.
So we're gonna have a mini. When I say mini, I mean mini quarterback run at the end of the first into the second, and we're gonna have 2 guys pick pretty rapid fire between 30 with Miami, 33 with New York, and 34 with Arizona. We're going to see the combination of Ty Simpson and Garrett Nussmeier go off the board like that.
In the first, okay, all right. Woo, all right, Dustin, give me your biggest draft night surprise.
This should be a surprise. The Arizona Cardinals take Jeremiah Love.
Is that a surprise?
Well, I'm just saying. I mean, what are they, 3? I mean, that's really hot for a running back, right? I mean,
I guess it could be. I think I've seen some rumors of that happening.
Or I mean, we can use my surprise of Simpson going to the Browns at 24. I mean, that would create some shock on opening night.
Yeah. So for me, and this isn't like that spicy. This isn't a huge surprise, but I think we're going to see a run on tackles and offensive linemen. But I think my Thursday night first round of the NFL draft, I think we are going to see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I think we're going to see 6 tackles drafted in the first round. And I know that's kind of boring. You know, it's not like a quarterback pick or anything like that. But, I mean, let me just read you a couple of names. CeCe Mauigoa, Spencer Fano, Caden Proctor, Blake Miller, Monroe Freeling, Caleb Lomu. I mean, you got Jennings Dunker, Ian Aquer. You've got some dudes. So I think that there's going to be a run. And when maybe like the first or second – or the second or third, tackle goes, we're going to see some teams maybe trade or start to get really anxious about the tackle situation. So, I
mean, that excites me a little bit too, because that means my guy from Boise State, Cage Casey, that means he moves up significantly, probably to a day, maybe a second or third rounder. I know he's projected 4th, but man, you run on tackles, that means people like Cage Casey at that next level, I mean, they're moving up because now people are going to get guys they couldn't get.
Yeah, there you go. Well, everybody, thank you for joining. This is a lot of fun. Really looking forward to tomorrow night. We will keep you posted on everything. So we will let you know on who wins these little segments that we did. But really looking forward to it. Have fun. Maybe have a nice meal, maybe a beverage, or however you want to celebrate. But enjoy the NFL draft.
And I was going to mention, look for possibly an interview tomorrow. I will have access to the players post draft. So if the Browns player is there and we don't do something absolutely crazy, look for a post-game interview from the Browns' first selection in the draft tomorrow night. So,
all right, there you go. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, Browns fans,